Five, four, three, two, one. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Along the Watchtower, my nightly podcast where I try to talk about everything from politics to aliens to history to all my other interests, sometimes delving into the fictional and phantasmagorical. However, lately, because Trump is a troll and is trolled. We literally had a troll for president. That's really what that was. The troll president, Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump, the troll, right? Something like it'll develop, right? And so it's been kind of one grandstanding politician after another fracturing political party after another volunteer idiot involved in the Capitol riots being arrested. So it's been a nonstop shitfest of nonsense. Whatever. I mean, it's amusing. Today is Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. Yeah, I had to think about it for a second. And yes, it's Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday. It's hump day. We made it. And yeah, as you can tell, I'm obviously very excited to be here. This thing with GameStop has kept me up at night. I've been debating whether to join in this train, this madness. I mean, probably not. I mean, I'm not, but it has been fascinating to observe. Basically to give like a synopsis or a summation. What's ended up happening is that large hedge funds have placed short selling bets, large ones, against GameStop. A short sell is when you borrow shares from a stock from a security, you sell it immediately on the market, you wait for the stock to drop, diminish, then you buy the shares back and return them to the security that you borrowed them from, and you make the difference. So the stock skyrocketing obviously is not good for them. Now, why is it skyrocketing? Basically, a bunch of people on Wall Street bets, Reddit. And it's probably... See, the thing is, it has to be, because that stock was $250 for the longest time. Actually, a coworker and fellow entrepreneur and investor and I were debating as to the relevance of buying into AMC, because he felt like having a position within the security at a good time when everything's shut down and it's at an all-time low is it's an advantageous position to be in right now, seeing as how it seems that government is getting hip to the idea of COVID not going anywhere anytime soon, and so things are going to need to start getting back in gear to some sort of functional state, and that includes theaters and entertainment, restaurants, the whole deal. And they will be figuring out a way to conduct that business. De facto mandatory vaccinations, right? We are not going to force you to get a vaccination, but in order for you to run your business, you have to have people be vaccinated. So there you go. And then thereby passing on to the businesses, that passes on to the customers, us. So that being said, what ends up happening is that these guys on Wall Street Bets get together and they buy the stock. They pump the stock. And they drive the stock to a point where short sellers, fearing that the stock will get far beyond what they paid or what they, sold it at the market at, because that's how they make their money. It's got to go low, not high. They then sell immediately to limit their losses. They're going to take a loss. It's better to just sell immediately while it's skyrocketing or on its way up, rather than let it get too high and take an enormous loss like some of these guys. We've heard numbers like $1.5 billion in losses, some of these hedge fund managers. But so the short sellers selling their short position sends it up higher. Everybody and this. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. They sell them as it's rising up, as people are buying into it, and so they're giving their shares away to these guys who are actually buying and securing the stock. It's called a short squeeze, and so because these short sellers are trying to get rid of them at an immediate sell price, and so they're selling them in large amounts, hundreds of thousands of shares, right? And so they're giving them away to these guys, gobbling them up as the stock is climbing. So it's easy to get into something at 16, like for the case of GameStop. It's easy to get, because AMC was 250 and then it pumped up to like 19. Hypothetically, it's easy to get into something at 10 that was valued at 250 at 10 or 12 when it's being pumped to 19, 20, right? You make $8 a share. You buy 1,000 shares, $8,000, easy money. So there's a huge short squeeze happening on GameStop. GameSpot have been messing that up for years. I don't care. It's a shitty store. Everyone knows his brick and mortar's going by the wayside. Anyway, I digress. It's been fascinating to just see the financial sector institutions come out on CNBC, MSNBC, proclaiming that, oh, we need to regulate this. This is crazy. You can't. It's like, wait a minute. So when you guys do the same thing, right? You have whole entire institutions designed to take large short positions on securities and then shit talk them out of existence, thereby increasing the value of their position and allowing them to make money. Yet a bunch of guys on Reddit can't get together and buy a stock that's worth nothing. If that's a prerogative, so be it. How do you regulate that? You're going to regulate intent? And then oh my God, I actually heard some guy on CNBC talking about he was trying to tie and relate it to the Capitol Hill riots and saying like, oh, well, this is another case of misinformation, disinformation, yada, 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 people buying into something they don't understand. It's like, no, if you go to Wall Street Bets, they're very clear on what they're doing, okay? Although they call themselves autists, referencing autism, suggesting that they are autistic, they're very clear on what they're doing. They post pictures and screenshots. They talk about it and strategize with each other. Yeah, it's a bunch of guys somehow with a large amount of money, large enough collectively to make a difference in a security or two, because it kind of bled over from GameStop into AMC, and that's why I was talking about AMC. So you're seeing this happen, and the thing is, this sort of short squeeze is going to destroy GameStop. This will probably be the death knell for GameStop, but it's going to be a ride. And I've been seeing some people, there's folks in Reddit that are millionaires now. Millionaires are made off of this. Because, well, not from the shares directly, although there were definitely those who made and probably lost hundreds of thousands, and some lost billions. But they bought options. Now I don't mess with options. Options, that's really straight up gambling. And it's like the setup would be to buy put options far out, and then you could hedge your bets, buy call options near, and then pump it with Wall Street Bets while buying put options further out. So after the short squeeze happens, after the pump and dump occurs and the short squeeze happens, then the fucking stock tanks. That's when your puts go up, right? And so that's how you catch it on both ends. If for those, and this is not, I'm not advising you to go into the market and waste your money. No. I'm just saying that's a way to do it. That's a way to do that. But I digress. It's been an interesting thing to watch. I definitely will continue to study and learn more before I engage on that level to any degree whatsoever. You must crawl before you walk, before you run, right? That being said, we're going to talk a little bit about some of they're victims of, like cultists are victims. They are victims of the mirage that was the former president, and now really are disenfranchised and disillusioned, a lot of these people, and also are incarcerated. So we'll talk about that. I mentioned yesterday, because I'm definitely trying now to keep pace with the things that I'm backlogged in. I know I mentioned yesterday the position that the Biden administration is going to be taking on the Middle East. There's been some action there, so we'll talk about that. Finally, we'll get to some COVID news. Yay! Question mark. Finally. Beijing anal tests. I know you're dying to hear about it. There's craziness. Biden administration signed an executive order banning the term China virus. Just most of what has been done thus far has either been to a degree or another kowtowing to China or been an anti-Trump related agenda. There hasn't really been anything singularly positive on the progressive front or singularly definitive for Biden administration at all. But we've only just begun, hopefully, to continue living. Because Putin, I know, don't hang on the words of Putin, because that's dumb. However, oh my God, FBI agents arrest walkaway founder Brandon. Great. All right, we're going to talk about that. Putin mentioned that, times like these, this time now is a very critical one. And, I've mentioned on the show that it's like that humanity's staring off a precipice. And very soon we could, instead of looking up and ascending, we are looking down into the catacombs below and treading very quickly off of that edge. We're seeing just a breakdown, a disambiguation of our culture. And by our culture, I mean humanity collectively, looking at our history, looking at the customs and mannerisms and zeitgeists that we have and have had, and we're scoffing at them, attempting to learn nothing from them, finding no meaning in any of it, and are just kind of walking around aimlessly. And everything is just kind of falling apart because of it. And, you look at other critical moments in history, and most of them are coddled around something, whether it be world wars, whether it be anti-terrorism, whether it be Great Depression. So, and I'm not suggesting that we need a great crisis in order for us to codify, but you'd think, seeing as how things are the way they are, that this would be such a moment in which we come together. But no, we are more divided. And by we, it's not just the country, it's the planet. Our species is imploding, basically. And we will watch it. We will watch it all go down together. Thank you for being with me. Please like, share, and subscribe. Trying to get better. I know I keep looking off over here. I'm trying to set up the itinerary. But, always trying to do better, trying to be better. And I hope at some point to be out there, to have something mobile. I know, I'm picking at my eye. There's something in my eye. And but that's down the road. That's down the future. Down the road in the future. There we go. Boom. And we will see. But yeah, new mic coming up, and I know I'm gonna get this out of my eye. All right, here we go. Boom. Gotcha. All right. So that being said, let's get into it. No, Walkaway founder arrested. We'll get to that. Maybe. Might get backlogged like everything else. So nearly 1 in 5 defendants in Capitol riot cases served in the military. This is very telling that the class war that I constantly mention, right? The bourgeoisie and the proletariat, right? This is not a new concept. And the military falls kind of in the middle, where they're in a position to have to carry out really the orders of the bourgeoisie by proxy, right? Because whose interests do the military generally follow? As in to say the private military-industrial complex, the military-industrial complex, obviously already private. The military-industrial complex is filled with people who were former defense administration officials. They were defense officials in the previous administrations, whether it be the Pentagon, whether it be directly in the military. So it's a revolving door of people who are related to each other, who interact with each other, who push policy from one another and influence one another. So, it's a very telling, it's a very interesting position that the military is in. So when you see a position that the military takes in a clear, definitive way like this, it is unsettling. And again, very indicative of the deepening partisanship that can turn volatile very quickly. And that is being encouraged because, right, they said that there was going to be 50 riots across the 50 state capitals. So we're seeing that intelligence agencies are suggesting, and everyone is suggesting that this is the case, but then nothing happened. The point I'm trying to get to is we want to put this in perspective. Although nearly 1 in 5 defendants in the Capitol riot cases served in the military, there doesn't seem to be a consistency from the volatility. That was an apex, and now it is settled to a degree, and now you're going to see it rumble again. But it's just like a stock, right? It rises and then it drops to a certain point, but not to the same level that it was. It is at a consistently tense point that it will not diminish from. It'll only get more tense and more volatile from here more rapidly. And I'm trying to be a harbinger of doom. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but we've seen it. The proof is in the pudding. And it's like how much further do you go than an insurrection at the Capitol? That's pretty 0 to 1 million, right? That's 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 our guy. That's Gerard Butler, man. White House down. No, I know. No. Olympia. No. Angel has no. The angel has fallen. Olympia. Anyway, I digress. You know what I mean. Olympus has fallen. But that was the White House. But that's the point that I'm trying to get to, is that when you see an uprising, a violent uprising, and then obviously it wasn't utterly volatile, right? You didn't see people shooting and stabbing, but 4 people died. Yes, 4 people died. Three or 4, because we know Ashley Babbitt died. We know the cop died, and then 2 civilians. 4 people died, and then the 2 unrelated. I'm calling them unrelated. The 2 suicides, completely unrelated. Oh my God, I need to get an update on it. Anyway, let me just read. Let me stop rambling. The Aspen Public Radio reads, as a violent mob descended the U.S. Oh God, they tell a story, all of them. As a violent mob descended on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, lawmakers and aides hid wherever they could, waiting for the military and police to arrive. I'm just okay. Yeah. 1 in 5 charged were military. Let's get to the meat. NPR, of course, compiled a list of individuals facing federal or District of Columbia charges in connection to the events of January 6th. Of more than 140 charged, a review of military records, social media accounts, court documents, and news indicated that at least 27 of those, or nearly 20%, have served or are currently serving in the military. To put that number in perspective, only about 7% of all American adults are military veterans. Several veterans are charged with violent entry and disorderly conduct. No one is charged with murder, thankfully. So that definitely would have been extreme. But this is what they and because the thing is, unless you have video evidence, you cannot just cast a wide net. Because they try to use the excuse like, oh, if Bob, Jimmy, and Joe, 3 guys, plan a robbery and someone dies in the process of that robbery, all 3 of them are complicit. Yes, for starters, that was planned. You can't use that analogy. If you plan to do something and something goes wrong in the course of it, then that's one thing. But you can't prove that literally everyone inside of that building had planned to be there. And I'm pretty sure the document evidence suggests otherwise. We'll read about the lady who stole Pelosi's laptop. That's really the one I'm interested in. Because they got Flex Cuff guy, that psycho. They got the guy with the bombs and the semi-automatic rifle, that psycho. Those people are psychotic. Those people, if anyone is going to be caught up in a blanket charge of murder for a seemingly semi-spontaneous act, it would be those guys. The guys who obviously came to do more than just shout at a rally and carry a sign. Like that's a clear like win or near win. Like you can at least get not conspiracy, but premeditated, right? Something. I'm no lawyer. I'm just saying, like, a lot of this is politicized, and because it's politicized, just like our stimulus, it's not being done. It's not getting done the way it could be done. Not that it can't be done, but it's not getting done the way it could be done. Therefore, it's not getting done. It's fun. But yeah, they just go through and just kind of name. Oh, this guy was in the Air Force. This guy was in the Marine Corps. That was about it. All right. I'm not in this to read semi-editorial journalism. Like I don't if I wanted an op-ed, I'd just read an opinion piece. It's not fair to me. I got a lot of crap to like sift through and read, and I just want information. I don't need your opinion interspersed into it. I know what I'm reading, the publication I'm reading from. I kind of know where you stand, especially from how you open the article with you're telling a story. It sounds like a movie script, and I understand the dramatis, the gravitas of the situation. It is that, right? You don't need to dramatize it. You don't need to. It is drama. It is what you would see in a movie. I understand that. However, what I would want is very straightforward. I need discernment. I need analysis. I don't need a story woven to me. I do enough of that to myself. But anyway, Pennsylvania woman accused of Pelosi laptop theft during Capitol riot banned from the internet. Now this, I know what you're thinking. If you're someone who knows me, like, oh my God, he's gonna go into a censorship. This isn't censorship. Like you hear stuff like this happen with like hackers. Okay. Now here's the thing. She didn't hack anything. I don't think this is related to her organizing or being a part of organizing the rally that turned into a riot. So I'm not sure, unless she is a hacker, how you can like how. I'm not sure that's. I'm not gonna say I'm not sure it's legal, but I'm not sure it's proportionate a response. Like I don't really understand it. It's simply the fact that she stole a laptop that she was banned from the internet. It's so far is what I'm getting. But let's read. A federal judge in Pennsylvania Tuesday ordered the woman accused of helping to steal Pelosi's laptop. Wait, she didn't act. Okay. Accused of helping to steal Pelosi's laptop during the riot to give up her internet access and remain under house arrest. Prosecutors argued that Riley Williams, 22, was instructing allies to delete incriminating records on disk. Oh, they got you. They got you dumb. Yeah, dude. If you're under investigation, you don't. You. Oh, okay, I got you. Okay. So then basically, yeah. So then I, in fact, retract my previous statement. It's not that necessarily she was hacking, but she was using the internet to cover her tracks. It kind of reminds me of when Hillary Clinton bleached her servers, and news was like, oh, people think that she poured bleach into hers. It's like, no, it's a term that's used to describe scrubbing or erasing data. Like, dude, stop playing games. But yeah, no, of course you get rid of the evidence. That's very interesting. FBI includes screenshots of her post to the platform. Oh, she's definitely not a hacker. The Department of Justice accused her of trying to cover her digital tracks by deleting online accounts and swapping devices. Her defense attorney says she currently has no internet-capable devices. She has demonstrated a history of deleting her own accounts and instructing others to delete messages about the events that are under investigation. Ooh, sounds like a plan. Sounds like see how easy it is to get premeditation. The instruction to others came to light after her initial appearance. In an undated Discord message, she allegedly bragged about stealing the laptop, according to court documents. Well, I'm wondering, because it's just like, all right, I stole shit from Nancy Pelosi. A username Riley wrote, I don't care. I took Nancy Pelosi's hard drive. I don't care. Kill me. See, you see the headspace of these people. All right. On January 10th, she allegedly asked associate to delete other incriminating messages on the app. If you're already under investigation and they know you took it, deleting messages is not going to. Well, I mean, whatever. Because she's just making it worse by covering her tracks for something they already know she did, something she knows that they know she did, which is why she's asking people to delete her stuff. It makes no sense. And now you're just creating that's why it's, Fifth Amendment. You have the right to remain silent. You can say nothing. I plead the fifth, all right, to not self-incriminate. Like, shut the fuck up. Stop talking to people. Stop doing things. Stop making it worse. Magistrate Judge Zia Farouqui, banned Williams from using any devices with internet access except to contact her lawyer, mental health counselor through her mother's phone. They got the laptop. There's a picture for listeners. We're looking at a picture of when the laptop was seized. It literally says they got the laptop. The judge said she's allowed to use an old-fashioned flip phone herself and placed her under home confinement. She's not allowed in D.C., and the judge named her mother a third-party custodian, and she can't possess firearms or consume excessive alcohol. Other restrictions include drug testing. In addition to the alleged theft of government property, she faces a slew of other charges in connection with the riot. She faces at least 2 felonies and a maximum of 20 years. Williams' ex-boyfriend flagged her to authorities after he allegedly found her in a YouTube video of the riot, according to court documents. Her defense attorney disputed his credibility and said that he had reasons to seek revenge. Here's the thing. That doesn't hold water if, after looking at the footage, a court deems that it's her in it. Because if it's found valid, the evidence that he presented, then it suggests his intent was to snitch on her. That's why you don't use stupid defenses. That's why you shut the fuck up. You stop trying to cover your tracks and haven't these people ever dealt with cops? This poor suburbanite has probably never. Yes, the stupid eye thing again. Has never in her life probably had to deal with, like, this is real federal felony stuff, and you're going online where you're leaving a digital trail. So I'm gonna get rid of it. Oh, blah, blah. And then your boyfriend snitches on you. So you and your defense attorney, you get together and you're like, well, what are we gonna say? Oh, let's say he's an angry ex-boyfriend. Like, cool, but if it's you in the video, bruh, it seems like it seems like it's kind of irrelevant then. And you making up excuses just it digs that hole deeper. She might get at least half of the book thrown at her. Real talk. Really, really, really and true. She might get, just because of the spite that judges can show. They have discretion to, we need to teach her a lesson. And then there's some of the accusations here, although we've read no evidence to suggest this is true. We have read this before. According to the FBI, Williams intended to sell the stolen laptop to Russian intelligence agents. Authorities have not yet recovered the laptop, but said the Russian sale fell through. Overall, authorities Tuesday said they'd arrested over 100 suspected Capitol rioters and have identified about 400. Whoever placed pipe bombs outside both the DNC and RNC headquarters, however, remains at large. Yes, that kind of got swept under the rug. I actually didn't have any. I never even covered that. I have to get to that probably tomorrow or the day after. And just let's follow up. The lawyer for the woman accused of stealing Pelosi's laptop says a vengeful ex made it up. June, look at this. Look at this. I mean, I know you can't see her, listeners, but yeah, she looks like a hippy dippy mama at your local coffee house, reading a book by an author who on the flip page has purple hair. Let me stop. I mean, she just, she looks like your average liberal millennial type, which is interesting, given that she was there at a riot ostensibly in support of Trump. But nonetheless, the point I'm going to get to is that she looks like a suburbanite, like your average white suburbanite. I don't know. That's the interesting. She looks like a hippy dippy girl to me. I don't know, look like one of them ladies you see in California, but I digress. But her lawyer told BuzzFeed that the allegation wasn't true and was made by a vengeful ex. Williams is currently under house arrest. Yada, yada, yada. We're moving on. Man accused of smoking marijuana on video charged. Do I even need to read more of this? Is that necessary, you think? Authorities continue to arrest rioters. So guys smoking pot and... all right. The Justice Department filed charges January 25th against a New York man who allegedly posted a selfie video to his Facebook. See, you guys loved... It's like the guys who do the Snapchat of them, like, making drugs. Like, you guys love to build a case against yourself, don't you? Who allegedly posted a selfie video to his Facebook showing him smoking what appeared to be a marijuana cigarette. He was smoking butt. No. The FBI said James Bonnet of Glens Falls, New York, can be heard in the video saying, "Captain avoiding smoking with all my people." So wait. Was he rioting or was he just smoking pot? According to the affidavit, he shot the video in the crypt of the Capitol, in which he was heard saying, "We made it in the building. We're taking it back." You couldn't have just done it for 420, man. Bonnet was identified by a coworker who shared the video with the FBI. According to the documents, the coworker told the FBI that Bonnet openly talks about conspiracy theories. See what I mean? Dovetailing anything that is curious or eccentric with violence makes you not only does it write you off from being heard and discredit you, but it potentially puts you in danger of being identified as an extremist, or as someone potentially zealous. And he tries to get his other coworkers to subscribe to such theories. The coworker remarked that they were more concerned about Bonnet's attendance of former Trump's rally due to the possibility he might contract COVID and spread it, because video showed him not wearing a mask. At least they were honest about that. And by they, I mean the publication. At least the public. And it's unfortunate that they put the former in there, but at least they put the latter. Then in reality, the coworkers were really just concerned about him getting sick, because then he would get others sick. Oh, all right. So I just find this funny and sad. Mike Pence is homeless after leaving office. That's it. I'm not reading here anymore. No, okay. Mike Pence is homeless after leaving office and couch surfing with Indian politicians, report says. If you don't have the foresight to have, like, you're not going to be, did you really, even if you thought you were going to be the VP for 8 years, why don't you have your own property? What have you been doing with your life? I don't understand the lack of foresight in some of these high profile people. It's not for me to understand, I guess. Do I want to read this? Not really. I don't really care. Former VP was thrust into the spotlight. Who cares? Though in his farewell address, who cares? Oh, he said he was going to be moving back to his home state in Indiana. He offered no details on specifics of where he would move with his wife. Officials show Pence, who grew up in Columbus, hasn't owned a home in Indiana for the past 8 years. Instead, political allies told Business Insider that the former second couple were couch surfing at residence of various Republican politicians in the state. Yeah, I really don't care that much. He'll land on his feet. I'm not. Yeah, it's not anything to be concerned about. It's kind of them to allow him to stay. I mean, because the whole thing is the Republican Party's fractured between GOPs and Trumpers. And mainly, the whole thing about it is I believe a majority of Republicans within the party are touting, some of the or most of the rhetoric and animosity of Trumpers because it's a political base to tap into. They're just tapping into the political well of energy. Those are voters. Those are people who can be swayed towards doing things, or rather, those are people at the very least who will vote you in office if you support their sort of their ideology, right? We're seeing a synergy happen, unfortunately, between media and politicians. It's a poisoning of the well because they're reacting to how we're reacting to how they're reacting, right? Politician comes out, gets us all worked up because politics as usual sucks and we want to change. Whether it be Barack Obama or Trump, anyone talking about changing things at business as usual, we're all about it. So you sway us, and there it is. One way or another, your administration goes to shit, and you leave. That animosity is still there. That feeling of disenfranchisement is still there and can be easily tapped into. So here we are. Now probably with a MAGA Patriot Party, Creator help us. Dear Creator help us, please. And a whole series of events that are going to unfold along the lines, really not of what we need as a populace, but whether or not you side with the ideologies of the previous president. And it's bullshit. It's absolute nonsense. That now instead of we're seeing two parties fracture in 4 ways total, right? Moderate Democrats, quote unquote moderate Democrats and progressives, and Trumpers and contemporary GOP members. It's fucking madness. And at the end of the day, when two elephants fight in the grass, it is the grass who suffers. At the end of the day, they're going to fight out their political aspirations, and we're going to get screwed waiting until March for a stimulus bill that's probably going to be drained, just like all the other stimulus bills except for the first one, right? Except for the first one, all the rest of them have either failed on the floor or have been drained of their momentum. And by momentum, I mean they were bulky at 2 trillion, 1.8 trillion, 1.5 trillion, and ended up at 900 billion. That sort of is what I mean by loss of momentum. Anyway, I digress. Let's read about Putin's apocalyptic forecast. Pamela Anderson got married, finally. That's cool. Putin, see, that's how my mind works. Like, Putin warns of the end of civilization. It's funny that a former head of the KGB and former agent or director, I think, of the FSB is talking about the end of the world. Anything that comes out of this man's mouth can't be trusted, whether it's true or not, because his intent, the intent behind which he says things, it's always intent for me. It's not enough that you tell the truth. I want to know why you're telling the truth, because if you're only telling the truth to get something out of me, then it's still kind of poisonous, isn't it? Right? So he does have a point. Yes, we are staring off a cliff, off a precipice into the future, where technologies will allow us to have cosmetic abortions. Oh, you don't want your baby to be dumb? Let us alter a gene. And I point towards the Chinese experiments I read about a few weeks ago about the Chinese government trying to alter the DNA of soldiers, allegedly to protect them from HIV/AIDS. But what has been found is to increase intelligence and physicality. They're trying to make super soldiers. It's China. What do you expect? To being able to have reusable rockets. We talked about that yesterday. 143 satellites were put into orbit by SpaceX the other day, and it's the largest yet. And I mean, if you combine commercial space travel with a cheapening capability of being able to build things that can get into space and be there, cheapening components, and commercialization equals ease of access, right? So we're, space travel, yay. Automated cars, hopefully technologies that will change the green revolution, the environmental landscape as we know it, because we've seen what the earth can be like when we stop. We've seen an immediate impact and change when we are forced to, and it seems like the circumstances by which we need to be forced can be rather, they don't have to be that intense, surprisingly. How about that? I digress, but the future is now. It's happening. It's unraveling before our very eyes. A carpet of silk and gold that's going to turn blood red and rustic and drop out beneath us like a fucking Warner Brothers cartoon if we don't pull our heads out of our asses. Anyway, Putin warns the end of civilization and a global all-out fight with COVID, growing inequality, and a rise in populism, potential triggers for conflict. A rise in populism is a potential trigger for conflict. I don't understand how people uniformly agreeing that we are in dire straits, and by people, I mean people on the ground, the average person, agreeing that we are in dire straits is a potential for conflict. Agreeing we need more money, agreeing for the most part, because obviously not everyone agrees on everything, but for the most part, that we need medical assistance. We need basically the economic boot off of our back, for starters. But Putin warned that the world risks sliding deeper into instability as pandemic combines with global rivalries and international tensions. No, it's the government result of the pandemic. It's their behavior during the pandemic. The pandemic itself is not, the death rate is not. Anyway, let me stop. He said growing inequality and populism could turn world into a dark anti-utopia, which is an ironic phrase because a utopia, at least by Orwellian standards, is a dark future anyway. Right? Utopia requires everyone to be uniformal. The only way you can have uniformity is by force. Like, everyone's going to want to do what they want, all right? Good or bad, happy or sad. The only way you get a utopia is... Anyway, Putin said spiraling tensions have come to resemble the situations before World War II. Not really. Not really. Except for a deepening depression economically, perhaps. Russian President Putin warned today that the end of civilization is possible due to a combination of coronavirus rivalries and worsening international tensions. Speaking by video link during a virtual meeting at the World Economic Forum, who's been calling for the great reset of our society, where you won't own anything and meat will be lab created, which is, I'm fine with that, and other absurd things, Putin pointed at growing inequality and unemployment and a rise of populism as potential triggers for his dark anti-utopia. The pandemic has exacerbated the problems and disbalances that have been accumulating. This is true. It's nearly exposed them as well. It exposed and exacerbated them. The Russian leader said, international institutions are weakening, regional conflicts are multiplying, and the global security is degrading. Putin hailed the decision by Russia and the United States to extend their last nuclear arms control pact start as a positive move, but he added that spiraling tensions have come to resemble the situation before World War II. I hope that such a hot global conflict isn't possible now. It would mean the end of civilization. There is a real danger that we will face a downturn in global development fraught with an all-out fight, attempts to solve contradictions by searching for internal and foreign enemies, and the destruction of basic traditional values. Putin attributed the worsening economic situation to a Western liberal economic model that he says foments social, racial, and ethnic intolerance, with tensions erupting even in countries with seemingly long-established civil and democratic institutions. So it isn't that it isn't, like, this is what I'm saying. It isn't enough to tell the truth. It's why you're telling the truth. Because while he's simultaneously pointing out very valid arguments, okay, very valid arguments. The problem is that Russia has been making moves in the Arctic Circle. Russia has been fermenting regional conflict in Syria and in the Middle East. Russia has been sucking the natural resources from Africa and South America. Russia, like, just like China, just like India, like, nobody is fucking innocent. So when he goes through this, I'm like, wow, that's a good point, Mr. KGB FSB guy. Except you're part of the problem. You motherfucking disappearing journalists who question you and say, like, bro, get out of here. You can't. I mean, you can. You're welcome to say and do whatever you'd like, hopefully, as long as it doesn't undermine or disrupt or affect anyone negatively. However, you can't, and you can, but you really can't expect anyone to, like, hear it, first of all, from you, but secondly, from the mouth of an oligarch president who is as corrupt as they come amongst another corrupt communist party, as if there isn't one, that has really kind of played the doublespeak, doublethink game better than Donald Trump, better than Bush, better than Obama, better than all of them, because he's the only one really still standing. He's the only one that managed to bypass laws that should have prevented him from becoming president again. He really committed a soft coup, as it were, right? Whereas the hard coup, an overt takeover, just storming the gates, those never work. This is what I've been saying. The soft coup, if there's going to be a coup, generally is the only effective coup, unless you want to have a military junta government, which most communist governments are anyway. But I digress. We read about Bernie Sanders giving the middle finger to what's happening in the Biden administration, really amongst the Congress right now, because this idea of bipartisan curiosity, that term makes me want to vomit. It makes me want to blood vomit. Yeah, it makes me want to blood vomit chicken chunks, quite frankly. That's for you, Francesca. But the whole thing about it for me is that and I keep saying this, and everyone's really saying this, and it doesn't take a keen political analyst to understand, right? You know that progressive policies across the board are winning. That is what actually, because Trump and Trumpism and Trumpers, that's faux populist. They don't represent a majority, even if it's a slight majority, a majority of people. The majority of people want Medicare for all. The majority of people want bail and prison and for-profit prison reform. Boom. The majority of America wants their troops out. The majority of America doesn't want an expanded foreign. The majority of America wants $2,000. You see what I mean? Pretty much, we'll say 4 out of 5 people. Or 3 out of 5 conservatively, 4 out of 5. The majority of people want these things across the board. This is how Democrats have gotten to the position that they have. So now that we have everything lined up, and you have a opportunity to be forceful, to be vengeful against the so-called GOP and Republicans that have prevented assistance and help from coming from on high to the government down to you, the little people, you have the clear option. Everyone knows it now. It's called budget reconciliation. Even people who don't fucking know what budget reconciliation is know that that's what you need to do to get it done, because then you don't need Republicans. It's a very simple enough concept. And yet here we are, waiting until March, not because we have to, right? But because they needed to negotiate with Republicans, because despite Sanders being head of the Budgetary Committee, the Senate Budgetary Committee, which is the Senate and House Budgetary Committee, and him literally going on national television, writing his own, he wrote that CNN piece and went on television to other publications to support it, putting out a roadmap like, hey, I'm not president, but this is what the Biden administration should do in their first 100 days. One of those, most of which, pretty much all of them, went over it yesterday, need budget reconciliation in order to survive as they are, let alone pass, let alone get to a vote on the floor, let alone pass. They got 3 hurdles to get over, okay? And the first thing Biden says is, you know what? I think I'm going to try talking to him. No, now is the time where you get to be Joey the Shark. We need to see Joey the Shark from the Obama administration. We need to see that gruff. We need to see really the asshole who was telling off. He literally was telling me, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. What did he tell that one supporter? He was like, oh my God. First of all, he challenged a union worker to a fist fight. He told this one lady, he told multiple people, but I just remember this one student asking him about, I think it was about abortion rights. And he told her, listen, if you don't like where I stand on it, you don't have to vote for me. We need to see that asshole. Where is that jerk who was telling his own constituents, people who were potentially going to vote for him, to fuck off? We need that guy to look towards the Republican Party and laugh in their face. That would be nice. All right. So during the Trump administration, or during the Trump campaign, if you recall, one of the things that he was campaigning on was bringing the troops home, not expanding foreign wars, etc., etc. It was a big thing, and it's very important to a lot of Americans that understand expansive foreign wars get you nowhere, for example, and destroy cultures, for example. But they do build up economies, and they definitely pump up the oh so generous pockets of stockholders of defense contractors and construction companies that get contracted to go out there and rebuild after we blow it up. So while they're rebuilding, we can blow it up again. I digress. There was a time when we were going to have like zero troops there, right? Most American troops to leave Iraq within days. And at that time, the Iraqi prime minister was actually kind of concerned. As we well know, once Trump left office, he filed an arrest warrant. I believe it was an arrest warrant for Trump. So we know where that goes. But, U.S. completes troop level drawdown in Afghanistan and Iraq. There are now 2,500 service members in Iraq and 2,500 in Afghanistan. This was as of January 15th, right before Inauguration Day. There were more troops in the U.S. Capitol, and I think still are, than in the Middle East at one point. And it's like, that's not really, you don't want to tip the scale. You want these guys to go home or to be on a reserve drawdown duty. You don't want just massive battalions everywhere constantly on active. But that's the thing. The standing army is the backbone of the military industrial complex. As long as there's an army that needs to be constantly fed, trained, and equipped with the latest and greatest, there's going to be a military industrial complex, among many other reasons like strategic resources, blah, blah, blah. So day after Inauguration Day, actually, I think it was, the day after Inauguration Day, that Thursday, the 21st, right? You're seeing from Foreign Policy, which is a huge defense magazine, Iraq's disappearance from Biden's agenda is a big mistake, right? He ends up getting, He ends up getting Black Defense Secretary, who's a former Army general on the board of Raytheon, right? So we just described the circle between war and military-industrial complex and the revolving door of government going into private industry and affecting foreign policy. And here we are having it happen in front of our very eyes. I think this guy's name is Lloyd too, actually. Ooh. But Biden administration at crossroads in Iraq, Afghanistan, because the day after he was inaugurated, there was a bombing. There was two bombings, only 4 kilometers from the U.S. Embassy compound. So you know what that means. The U.S. sends hundreds of troops to the Mideast after a troop drawdown that could have ended foreign war expansion in the Middle East is a plan that will be deferred. No. U.S. sends hundreds of troops to Mideast after attack on embassy compound in Baghdad. Some of the protesters who stormed the U.S. Embassy compound Tuesday made it as far as the main reception area before they were repelled. The United States is sending about 650 soldiers to the Middle East after thousands of people stormed the compound of the U.S. Embassy. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said Tuesday night. No, it wasn't him. Esper said Donald Trump ordered the deployment, which came from... I'm sorry. The troops were sent, obviously, while Trump was still president. Excuse me. Which came from an infantry, the 82nd Airborne, blah, blah, blah. It's a precautionary action. President Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago in Florida on New Year's Eve told reporters he thinks the situation has been very well handled. This is, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So they'd actually, I was reading an article from a previous bombing. Whoopsies. Right? Yeah, that's. Yeah. Trump on New Year's Eve. Yeah. I didn't realize, I forgot that there was a bombing over the Christmas holiday because I was celebrating my birthday. So there was a bombing. There was a bombing on the 21st, but there's also a bombing. There's been an increase in activity overall in Iraq for obvious reasons. Now we have a reason to go back in there, but it's not just Iraq. This also happened under the Trump administration twice, both times in April, almost like an anniversary. And now we have a Syrian situation all over again. Damn it, Newsweek, I'm not subscribing to you. You're going to try to make me subscribe. No, you're not. Cool. Excellent. Syria sends first message to President Biden. Hey, buddy, withdraw troops and stop stealing oil. Right? So Syria issues its first message to Joe Biden urging the incoming leader to withdraw troops. Syrian permanent representative to the United Nations, Bashar al-Jafri, derided U.S. actions in his country during a Wednesday virtual session with the council. As Biden was sworn in Washington, Jafari called for an immediate change in foreign policy in Syria, where multi-sided civil war with U.S. involvement neared its 10th anniversary. We got to get them to leave, stop acts of aggression. So you know what happened? You know what the Russians did? Russia then decided reinforcements were needed. Reinforcements will be required. They've sent reinforcements, deployed them to the frontline area targeted by Turkish forces. So you know what we did, because this is all just a regional conflict. So if there are more, basically, if there are more Russian troops in an area near an area that we're in, we will shore up the area that we're in. So what do? The U.S. military convoy enters northeast Syria, right? And Syria and Turkey border each other, as far as I know. There's been a Turkish-Syrian civil war for a while now, right? Yeah. So I'm just bringing up a map. I like to be, even if I look foolish, I want to make sure, what's going on is going on. So just for our listeners, we're looking at a map of Syria and Turkey. Right. We have the Kurdish territory, the Turkish territory. They have inter-regional territories that both countries occupy, thus the conflict, or part of the reason for it. So as one side, the Turkish side, sides up with Russian forces, we side up the the Syrian side with U.S. forces, as well as shoring up the Syrian president, or prime minister, can't remember what autocratic government they have. But yeah, so any sort of retardation of our position in the Middle East is definitely not going to happen. Oh, are you ready? And that's what I mean with Putin. With Putin's statement, it isn't that it's okay. It isn't that it is infactual. It is disingenuous coming from him. That's what it is. But yeah, our position within the Middle East not only is going to increase within Iraq and Afghanistan, as it seems we have provocation to do. And again, this whole administration thus far has been just an anti-Trump administration, which is one thing. It isn't that I personally or most people disagree with that, but there are more pertinent matters like getting Medicare for all. Again, it is millions and millions of people, on top of losing their jobs, on top of then losing their homes, have now lost their ability to access medical services. I'm not sure that partisan bickering and like making sure to send a message to your supporters and voters that you're, staunchly anti-Trump. I'm not sure that's the first thing on your list, unless it benefits everyone to do so, unless there are things that you're doing that actually is beneficial to everyone as a whole and part of the progressive agenda. I'm not sure that you needed to be focusing on that immediately. For example, something that I think is an obvious one that is much more effective than really anything he's done thus far is eliminating $50,000 of student debt for everyone. Like, there are literally people who can't pay their rent because they've lost their job still trying to pay their student debt. That's a madness. That's madness. That doesn't make sense. And these are obvious things. Again, doesn't take a keen political analyst with a PhD to understand. But, let's speak about Syria. We're coming up on the end of the show. Almost made it to COVID land, right? We almost got there. We'll try and get there tomorrow. But a convoy of 40 trucks and armored vehicles have crossed and entered Syria from Iraq. So that's another thing that's a way we shore up entire theaters of operation. We just have country after country in a landlocked situation scoured with military bases. So a large U.S. military convoy entered northeastern Syria on Thursday. Syrian state news agency SANA reports, citing sources on the ground. According to the report, the convoy included some 40 trucks and armored vehicles and was backed from the air by helicopters. It entered Syria from Iraq via the Al-Walid crossing to bring arms and logistical equipment to bases in Hasakeh and another province I can't pronounce. Such maneuvers are not unusual, and the U.S. often transfers equipment between Iraq and Syria. So then why are you reporting on it? Probably because it's being reported that Russian reinforcements are being deployed to the Turkish area. This is what I'm saying. This is the back and forth, that the media is no longer the fifth estate that is supposed to be disambiguating and discerning into the affairs of government. They no longer have they no longer feel like they have a purview to disengage from the scenario, right? To not be participants in the news, but to tell the news. So they're being puppeted. I mean, this is nothing new, right? Yes, I'm going to bring up Operation Mockingbird. And better yet, it's better to bring up the Sinclair Entertainment Group video where you see screen after screen of the same script being parroted. That's much better than trying to bring up Operation Mockingbird, which is an actual CIA operation involving the three or four main media groups at the time, companies at the time, Viacom and NBC, ABC, and their individual publications and blah, 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 blah. But the point is that the idea of controlling media is nothing new and has been going on for a long time. Manufactured consent is always a good go-to in understanding how that is that occurs. And I suggest you can find the video on YouTube. You can also go to my archival my documentary channel. Really, it's an archival channel with historical footage and documentaries. It's called the Chronaxial Archives. CHRONAXIAL, Chronaxial, right? CHRONAXIAL, Chronaxial. It's a cross of space and time, an axis, a cross on the axis of space and time, a chrono axis. Anyway, I digress. Me and my nerddom. Yeah, this is the end of the show because I want to go into the COVID thing. I'm going to leave that. But, ready? A GOP lawmaker refused coronavirus test. He was kicked off the floor for jeopardizing the health of colleagues. It's one thing to refuse a vaccination. It's barely something to refuse using a mask. You may have like a medical condition, something like that. But to not get tested, I've never understood that. All right, so it's uncomfortable to get a swab up your nose. Like, literally, you're not having anything injected into you. Stop it. Stop being hyperbolic, okay? If there was a way for us to quickly find out, well, you can get tested for the flu. But there was a way, for example, to find out if you can quickly find out if you had the cold. You do it. You wouldn't question, like, oh, it's unpatriotic. Oh. You do it. Like, if you can find out, if there's a non-invasive way, like, if you don't have to draw my blood, if you just have to, like, do a Q-tip up my nose, yes, it's uncomfortable, but, guy, there are it's better than a fucking biopsy. I know, that's an extreme example. I'm just saying, like, it's not justifiable. That's not justifiable. That's political. See? The Trumper nonsense. And it's all going to be kind of compiled into this group within the Republican Party that's going to fracture it. Anyway, I digress. With that being said, please like, share, and subscribe if you like what I'm doing. Getting better all the time. Please be well to yourself and to each other. Take care.